series about all Chopin's music. What was that? I think I've asked this question about in some other video. I think probably it was Tarantella. Yeah, now I remember. I played the Tarantella, then I asked you, what is this? Is this Chopin? And, it doesn't sound like Chopin. This also doesn't sound like Chopin at all. Now the question, does it sound like music? Like romantic music? Not necessarily, but I hope that after this video, we together will all change our mind. The strategy for this video, as you can imagine, it's not easy to make an analysis. To make an analysis is easy, but to make a video for you, music lovers, Chopin lovers, to enlighten this piece, to make it easier to absorb, to understand, is not an easy task. Probably the most difficult that I have ever had in my project. But when I was thinking about the strategy of this video and how to make it as enjoyable and as interesting for you, I came up to the conclusion that maybe it will be great to take you all on journey together with me, or to invite you to my working room, let's say, and to do the analysis together. So of course we will make an analysis, but also I want to show you how I work. So we will all work together now. So of course, first of all, what I do is I learn the notes and everything, and then when I know it already, I ask questions to myself, and I asked hundreds of questions to myself, and this prelude especially provokes for many questions. First of all, of course, what I do is also I read about it, and I read where it was written, and in my great book I found that Chopin wrote it in Mallorca, which was not a surprise for me because it's one of the shortest preludes. As we know, under the time pressure, Chopin didn't really write long pieces in Mallorca, long preludes. So this is written in Mallorca. What is also very interesting, and this I have to read for you, is an excerpt from the diary of Georges Sand. And she writes in her diary how their life in Valdemosa, in the monastery in Mallorca, how their daily life looked. And there is especially one very important for us statement. This is in Polish. I try to translate in English. So she, generally speaking, she writes that usually after breakfast she was teaching her kids, because as you maybe know, she was the teacher of her kids, so they had lessons together. Then after lessons the kids were playing and running around, whereas I was working, so writing a book. In the evening, when the moon was shining, we were all running through the corridors, endless corridors of the monastery. Or sometimes we were reading in some room. And then when I arrived with my kids after these night excursions, we found Chopin at about 10 o'clock at night on his piano with his eyes like in a mad person, you know, the mad, like mad eyes, as if he was mentally ill. His hair up, and he didn't recognize us immediately. But after when he recognized us, he tried to smile, and he played for us some, and this is very important now, some music that came to his mind when he was alone. And this music was, I would say that they were like just ideas, very scary, that came to his head without his control during his lonely time of loneliness, sadness, and feeling frightened. This is very interesting. So we can imagine, I think, Chopin alone. And as we know also from some other words Barjot's sound, that Chopin had some visions. I mean, he saw some devils, some strange things. He felt very bad, and all this monastery made him really almost mad. And I think this is the fruit of this madness. But this is not a mad music. It is constructed in a very deeply thought of way, which we are going to do today. We are going to make analysis. But now let's go back to work. Okay, so now the next thing we should do, we should analyze and see the tempo and all the markings that Chopin made. Allegro, which means fast. Okay, fast. Pesante. And pesante, this is something very strange. It means heavy. But usually when Chopin wrote pesante, I mean always when he wrote pesante, it was written in slow parts. The most famous pesante of Chopin, do you know? Of course you do. The beginning of Ballad number 1. Pesante, right? So we feel heavy. But here, pesante, well, this is very strange. And now, what do I do, or what do we all do to understand better this pesante? Well, if I don't understand, then I have to do many things, but one of the things that helps me a lot is to play the contrary, the opposite. So, the opposite of pesante is what? Leggero. So, light. So now I play leggero to understand the character that Chopin wanted. Leggero. So. So, somebody is playing, right? Some around. Maybe some kids are playing in the basement because it's dark. This is another thing. We see that the whole piece is composed on the left part of the keyboard. Only the bass, only the left part. Chopin doesn't use at all the treble, I mean the upper part. We had such a prelude already, right? The E major. But this was very different because it was in major. This is in minor, so it's very dark. So certainly not light running around. Now another question: if he used this part of keyboard, how it would sound? How it would have sounded if it had been written in the upper? Let's try. Okay, light, much more light. So this, now I understand deeper pesante, and I understand why it's in the darkness. So there is some image of something scary, heavy, so maybe some big, maybe a devil, you know. And now another question: why fast? What is this? Now we have to use our imagination, of course. Maybe a fight, a battle. Who knows? It can be a battle, but there is not everything. Another thing I have to see is how Chopin wants us to count. This is also very important. Is it on 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's not. It's on 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. What does it mean? It means it must be very fast. It should be played faster, as faster than on 4. So that makes me think that Chopin, on purpose, he wanted here to achieve some chaotic music, something like you know, somebody maybe is tightened and is trying to free himself, or some battle, but battle inside, some turbulences, we would say, right? Definitely the music that should make us scary, but that's not all. And now I show you the score. Now, what is the most surprising in this piece, for me, and I think for everybody, is not the notes, but the dynamic marks. Dynamic means, you know, louder and more silent. Look at this. In this bar we have 2. In this bar we have 2. In this bar we have 1. Then we have another 1, another 1, another 2, another 1, another 2, another 2, another 2. Every bar, here is fortissimo. Every single bar has some dynamic mark. And this is, I'm not sure, but maybe this is the only piece of Chopin that 100%. Well, there is only one bar, that doesn't have a dynamic mark. Bar number 15. Anyway, so 99% of almost everywhere we have dynamic marks. It looks like Beethoven's music. I mean, what it says to us, to me, that for Chopin in this piece, it was the most important. So the whole drama, the whole inner message that this music has, is transmitted not really by notes, but by the dynamic. I think this is the most important to know. And now, what is this dynamic? I show you and play for you with a little exaggeration and slower, so that we can all really understand. First bar is like crescendo and diminuendo, so louder and more silent. This is repeated again. Then the next 2 bars we have the constant crescendo. Then again, like at the beginning. Then we have diminuendo and crescendo. Diminuendo, crescendo and diminuendo. Again from up, diminuendo, crescendo and diminuendo and crescendo and fortissimo. Crescendo, diminuendo, big huge crescendo. And then from here a big diminuendo until the end. And everything ends piano. I mean, it doesn't say piano, but the diminuendo is big and it ends just in nothing. I think this is very important for every performer to make it exactly like Chopin wanted, and which is not easy. Because in fast tempo, you have to change the touch immediately. So now it's getting more and more understandable, I think. We have a lot of notes and they make some kind of sound impression, and this the big piece of sound, let's say, and the sound is sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller, and bigger and smaller, and bigger and smaller, and it's a little unpredictable. At the beginning it seems like there is somebody who tries to catch us, like a devil maybe, right? When we have a crescendo and diminuendo again, and then the next bars is that I almost catch you. Yes, just like that, and then he almost catch you. So maybe this is something that Chopin had in his head. Let's listen to this again. And again. And then this is a little different. Another thing that Chopin didn't write is the pedal. No pedal. This reminds me of a very similar piece, the finale from his B flat minor sonata, also written like this piece when two hands play exactly the same notes. I didn't mention that, but hopefully you can hear. Both hands are playing the same exactly notes. Right hand and left hand. And all the time, from the beginning to the end. That's how this is written. So, the same kind of idea, maybe the same emotions transmitted through this music. So, now it's getting more and more clear, I think. And for me also as a performer, this is how I work. But that's not the end. Now what we have to do the analysis of the structure of the piece. So the architecture of the piece. The dynamic help us a little, but also the motifs and the melody, because there is some kind of melody. And now going deeper into this, when we have these triplets all the time, if I play for you a few times and I ask you to try to focus and listen to two voices, can you hear two voices here? Again. Sorry. Maybe not, but if yes, congratulations. If not, I show you. Voice number one. Very scary. And of course this voice, the structure of this voice is minor second. Upper voice. And this upper voice also has the structure of seconds. Up, down. Why am I talking about it? Because, as I mentioned before, a few times. In every prelude we can find, sometimes hidden, like here, but the structure of seconds, which is the main key to understand all preludes from the motivical point of view. So these two voices, can you hear them? I play the lower voice in the bass and the upper voice, although I've never done it before, so it might be difficult, but I play the upper voice in the right hand, in the upper register, so that we can really hear it. Okay, wish me luck. How to do it? Okay. Makes sense now, okay? I think it makes sense now. And maybe you see that there are phrases. Now let's analyze those phrases. Do you remember, I'm sure you do, when I was doing this and when I showed you that it's something trying to catch us and goes back, trying to two times, and the third time almost catch us, right? What this is a typical Chopin phrase. I showed it many times on my movies, like this one. Short, short and long. And this is the same. Short, short and long. And this is the first phrase. Then short and long, and then something interesting happens. Chopin adds 2 bars, and now I will explain you in a very simple words in a 21st century language what Chopin does here. This is like in some text document when we write on the computer. If Chopin was writing this on the computer, we have the one sentence at the beginning, like short, short and long. Then we have another sentence, short, short, long. And then what Chopin does is he takes this this long phrase, circle it, he copy it, then he puts the cursor, well, I mean, you know, he goes a little bit on the right at the end, and then he click past. So copy and then past, and he has again this long. So again, short, short, long, or as you prefer, A, B, when the B is longer. Then again, short, short, long, A and B again. A, B, A, B, B. And we are back in the recapitulation, my friends. So at the beginning of the piece, and again, A, and a B, and now, what is next? Chopin is again copying and pasting? No. Is he repeating the beginning? No. So what? The coda. Listen to the coda. And the end. So in such a short piece, we have the whole construction. We have the recapitulation, we have the middle part, maybe these 2 bars of the B, which was copied and pasted. Maybe this B is like the middle section, the development section, you know. So in such a short, half a minute lasting piece, we have the whole story. We have two voices, we have phrases, we have recapitulation. How is this possible? It's genius. It's just like this. So maybe on such a very small little letter we have a painting of maybe two devils fighting with each other, you know? This prelude is in a very dark place. And now we proceed working, but now what I will do, I analyze the coda, and this analysis of the coda will give me some idea. And will give all of us, look, coda. Here in coda, the coda has 4 bars. Well, the 5 bars, but the last bar is only one note, so I delete it. 4 bars. They have the construction 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. And this, now, in the first 2 bars, the lower voice, this is very clear here. Even if we don't want to emphasize it, we hear it. Because the upper voice has nothing interesting to say. So, yes, this is nothing interesting. So we have this. But then in the next 2 bars, suddenly the lower voice has nothing interesting to say. Nothing. But the upper voice has the answer. So this is like a conversation. The lower voice and upper voice. Genius. So now what it makes me think? It makes me think that maybe the whole prelude is like a conversation between 2 voices. And now let's check. If I do like this, first the lower voice. Sorry. And then the upper voice answering. And lower. And upper. Then we have this repeated B, so probably also upper. But could be also lower. And again A. And upper. Upper. If I play this like before, so when I show the lower voice, I play in the bass. When I show the upper voice, I play in the upper register. Sense, but now the question is it too much? Chopin didn't write accents on these voices, so it seems like he didn't want to emphasize these voices. But on the other hand, even when we play this evenly, we still can hear them. So what I'm doing now, of course, is exaggeration, but this exaggeration makes me understand the piece better, and I think for you as well. Understand the phrasing, understand the structure, understand the character, and then later there is a question whether to show this dialogue very much during the performance or not. I don't know. I didn't find the answer, because sometimes when I play, I just like to play it through. Of course, I hear inside myself these voices, but I don't emphasize them. Sometimes I do. And this is beautiful in music. We can choose. But I think there is a lot of mystery in this piece, but at the same time, Chopin gives us a lot of things to make it easier for us, to make it easier for us to understand and guess what he wanted, especially dynamic, character, tempo, and even these hidden voices. So I think that's it. Now let's listen to this again, and maybe let's, after this video, please listen to some few other recordings and let me know if after this video you listen to it in some other way, because that's quite interesting for me. I definitely listen to this prelude in a different way after making analysis, but of course I also learned it, so I know how to play it, so it's a little different than you. Okay, so let's listen. Thank you very much for watching, and we see each other in my next episode. Bye bye.